Good morning. All right. Beautiful, beautiful. I'm all on here and ready. So as you get here, make sure you say good morning and let me know that you're here, or good afternoon, whatever it is for you. And then, so I'm going to pull this up on my phone really quick. All right. Whoop, whoop. All right. Give me another minute to do all the housekeeping stuff that needs to be done, or it doesn't need to be done. I want to have it done. Okay. All right. So it's a beautiful Sunday morning. And one of the things that was really cool was like this morning when I took the dog out for his walk. For the first time in forever, the temperature was below 70 degrees. Of course, we've got a lot of humidity, so it still felt warmer, but for some reason it was like, okay, I can do this. Good morning, Wendy. Good to have you here. How are you this morning? Got my little cushion here. I got a little poof thing that I have under my desk so that I can put my feet up on sometimes, and it was just a little wonky. Good morning, Mark. Make sure you say hello so other people will know you're here, and you can participate in the discussion if you'd like. Let me check and see what's going on in all the little places. Good, Wendy. I guess okay is better than bad, right? It's all in perspective. I'm doing very well this morning. And, and it's interesting. I was doing a little bit of meditation before, I got on here trying to, yeah, um, to just kind of get in touch with what I wanted to talk about today. And, I was, thank you, Wendy. And as I was thinking of all these things and I was just letting it all flow, the affirmation came to me. And so, like I've said so many times before, it's like when something's showing up for me, then I know it's something I want to work through and really play with a little bit. And so I really want to share those with you because I feel like if I'm wanting to explore some of these ideas, then you probably are as well. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into the affirmation this morning. So give me just a second while I copy and paste this stuff. All right. So our affirmation this morning is I embrace the journey of becoming my most courageous, confident self, knowing my unique voice matters. And I think a lot of times we can feel like we want to be courageous and we want to be confident, but then we don't feel confident in the fact that we have a unique voice, we have a unique message. And that can go for people that aren't even wanting to be influencers on Instagram or Facebook or anything like that, because our voice is unique and it does matter with every person we come in contact with, right? That is so helpful. Oh, beautiful, Wendy. So just think about it. As you're going through your days and you're interacting with people, no matter what, we are very unique. Even though we may sometimes share a message that we've heard from someone else, our perspective on it and our the things that have happened to us in our life are all unique to us. exactly the way we interpreted it and all of that stuff, right? And all of the things that have come together throughout our lives have made us uniquely us. And that's what I talk about in my podcast, Today's Dream, Tomorrow's Reality, that we live a mosaic life. It's all of the bits and pieces, no matter how big and how small, whether they were good or they were not so good, all of those things have created who we are. And that gives us a unique voice, a unique perspective. Let's see. Let me see if I can get this to come up over here. Oh, I had to deal with maintenance with things that went wrong in my apartment this morning, and it was stressful. Oh, I feel you. I feel you. Anytime there's something wrong in your apartment or your home, and then you're having to deal with it, can be very stressful. And this is probably trivial, but to me, I was having a little bit of a stress is not quite the word, but a little angst this morning as I started realizing that no, this just goes to show I have Xfinity cable, right? Internet, because I don't have cable, I just have internet. And they had this special where you could, for $15 more a month, you could stream your Apple TV, your Netflix, and there was another one, I don't remember. But for $15, well, I was paying more than $15 just for my Apple TV, right? And my Netflix, definitely. And so I bundled them. And what I realized this morning when I was looking at my bank statement and everything was that I was still getting charged for both. I was getting charged at Netflix was charging me because some reason it didn't translate. So it was like this morning, it was like, okay, now what do I do? Because I've been double paying for a couple of months without even realizing it. And it made me think, there's probably so many things in our lives that we're double paying for. And and I know this may not sound like it relates, but it does, I promise. And so I was double paying for Netflix and for Apple TV, right? But a lot of times we're double paying for something that happened in our lives. We paid for it when it happened, and we had all this angst about it and all these different things. But then every time we think about it, we're double paying again, and we're double paying again. And then if it's something that holds us back, maybe quadruple paying, if not even more, right? And so, to me, it was really eye-opening that I was paying these bills more than once, right? For the exact same thing. But don't we do that in our lives? Like there are times that I'll look back at something that is in my mosaic life, right? And I really used to have a problem in the past with going and seeing these things and seeing them as gifts. And so when something comes up now, I can actually drop into the stillness within me and I can look at it and say, okay, where's the gift in this? Where has it created something in my mosaic that has actually made me better, made me stronger, or put me on a path to something else? And it's like with Wendy, with you having to deal with the maintenance and things, in actuality, when you dissect it a little bit, maybe it was something that helped you to be a little bit stronger. Maybe it is to divert something that was going to happen from these. If they didn't take care of these maintenance issues, something else would have transpired, right? Like for instance, one of the times I've talked about is I had a time in my life many years ago that I had, oh God, I don't even remember how many accidents in my car within a very short period of time. And I had several different cars because they got totaled and everything. And none of the accidents were my fault. Not one single one. It was always something else, right? But when I really dissected it, it was the mindset that I was in that was kind of magnetically drawing those things to me. And then when I would have a near miss, which I had recently, it made me more aware so that I diverted and didn't get involved in the accident that was coming for me, right? So the thing that happened not too long ago, I think it was last month, was that I was driving down the road and I went to change lanes. And I don't know if it was in my blind spot or if it was the guy was just driving too fast. But as I started going into the other lane, all of a sudden somebody just ran on their horn and I was coming right over on them. And so I went back in my lane. Well, you know how what happens when all that starts happening is, well, your heart starts palpitating and everything. So then you get ultra aware of what's around you, even more so, right? And so as I get to the next red light after that happened, I was very aware of all the traffic coming, even though my light had just turned green. I slowed down to make sure I was very aware. And what happened was that thing made me ultra aware, right? And I slowed down and a car right through their red light. Now, if I had not had that near miss, I probably would have been having my conversation because my son was in the car. I would have been having the conversation and we would have gotten blindsided just right there. And so, good morning, Kathy. Good morning. And so the thing is, and I'm not saying that's happening to you, Wendy, or anything like that, but that's the only thing that's coming to mind as you put that you were dealing with the maintenance things for something that went wrong. And but it's things come to our attention for a reason. And maybe it was stressful, but in the stress, you've actually created this movement and feel the stress and just let it go and keep going, right? And I know it sounds like we've gotten way off topic, and maybe we have. I don't know. But our affirmation for today is I embrace the journey of becoming my most courageous, confident self, knowing my unique voice matters because it does. Every time we talk to someone, it matters. Whether it's just someone at the grocery store, like I talk about a lot of times when you're going through the cashier line, and maybe the cashier looks like they're just having a horrible day. And let's face it, a lot of them look like they are just counting down the seconds when they're going to get off work, right? And bless them, I've done that job before and it is not easy. It sounds and looks easy. However, people can be pretty damn rude and ugly because they've had a bad day. It goes back to that Zig Ziglar thing about kicking the cat, right? And so the thing is if when we go to the grocery store and the cashier looks like they're having a hell of a day and it ain't looking good, if you're calling them by name and you're saying good morning and you're smiling and you're making eye contact, you don't know, maybe that's the thing that your voice has just created the space in them to say, oh, there are nice people around. This isn't so bad. And, so every time you use your voice to speak to someone, it can lift them up or it can push them down. So if we're being our most courageous, confident self, knowing that our unique voice matters, we're lifting people up. And then what if you're a person that gets like on here and you talk to people and you inspire people? Every time you do that, you are creating this ripple effect in the world. That's the one drop in the ocean that just goes on out, right? And so as we're doing these different things, we're allowing our unique voice to get out. We're allowing things to magnetically be drawn to us. Because remember, whatever you put out, whatever your thoughts are, your actions, they can be a magnet to draw the things to you that you want. And that's what our workshop is going to be about. And as a matter of fact, make sure you go in and you vote, because I've got 2 different dates set up. And right now it might be, what did I say? Tuesday, August 20th at 4 p.m. But then I'll put in another one because there's a Thursday before that has just opened up and available. So I'm putting it out there to see which one works for most of you. And then we will do that workshop. And I am so excited about doing that. We'll be doing visualizations. We'll be discussing things and what's magnetically coming to us now and how we want to change it. It's going to be beautiful. You voted. Okay, good, Wendy. Good. Thank you. Thank you. So, we are energetic beings. The world is an energetic place. And if we don't like the way our world looks, we can change it. And so that's what the workshop's going to be all about. And I'm super stoked about that. All right, so now I'm going to go to our journal prompt. Let me grab it real quick. All right, so our journal prompt for today is, what's one small brave step you can take today to amplify your authentic voice, even if it feels a little uncomfortable? Because let's face it, sometimes it can be uncomfortable, right? And so this is the act of surrendering to this process, and seeing the value of our own voice. Beautiful, right? But then there's also a place where we act on it. We get inspired action. And when we can focus on one small, meaningful step, it's beautiful, right? So we don't have to make these big, courageous leaps. We can do something small. Because remember, one of the things that we've discussed so many times is that a 1% change every day creates exponential growth, right? So it doesn't have to be anything big. And if you're, good morning, Alina. I'm trying to see, you're down here on my phone and I can't see. So if I said your name incorrectly, I apologize. I really need to clean my glasses. So when you're thinking about this, right, you've got your authentic voice. You're wanting to tell people things. You're wanting to stand up and stand out. You're wanting to be courageous and confident, right? Maybe you're wanting to start a podcast, and maybe you're wanting to start a new business. Maybe you're just wanting to get better at the one that you have. Maybe you're wanting to be able to talk to people in a networking event and just be confident in that place, right? It all starts here. So what's one small, brave step you can take today to amplify your authentic voice, even if it feels a little uncomfortable? And one of the things that, and it's funny, because when I created this morning, I was doing some work on the computer. Like I said, I was figuring out that I was double paying for a bunch of things, right? And then I got a notification that one of the groups that I'm in, it's a podcasting group, they said that you could go, they sent the message that I could go, everybody could go live in that group and tell about what their podcast is and who are they looking for as a guest, right? And it was like, sometimes that can be just a little bit uncomfortable. And the reason for me is that, my podcast, I love it. It's my baby. It's my self-care, right? And so I usually personally invite people to come onto my podcast. And I've only once have I done this thing. It was the Podcast Palooza or something like that in one of the groups that I'm in. And so I shared a little bit, and I had a few guests from that, and it was amazing. But normally I'm picking and choosing, and I'm going into groups and I see somebody's story and I say, oh, that'd be a good story. And I reach out to them, right? I've reached out to people that have written books and all of that stuff. But to go into a group of just podcasters, and with my baby, my self care podcast, right? And it's not about self care, it's about people and their stories, but it's my self care because it helps me to get my voice out and not have to filter things. I don't edit it, I don't do any of those things. And I actually tell every guest that I have on that before we even start, that I don't edit anything. So whatever we say, whatever we do is part of this podcast. And the only editing I have ever done in this podcast is when a guest and I had this glitch to where my power went out and I wasn't there. And so there was this long stretch of nothingness. And then we got back on. I think that's the one. Um, and so I went in because there was almost 5 minutes of total nothingness. So I went in and I left where no, that was not it. I'm sorry. I'm telling you a story. It wasn't when my power went out. It was when the other person's internet went down. And so I was on there and I was saying, are you there? And they were just frozen. And so then there was this long stretch and then she came back. So I went in and deleted out that big 5 minute gap, but I left the part that says you're frozen right now. Hopefully she'll be back in a minute. And then I went to, oh, good, you're back. And the only reason I did that was I did not want people to just drop off and not see all of her story. And so that's the only editing I've ever done. And so, and I like that. But sometimes that can feel a little intimidating because some people, good morning, Wendy. Some people have these podcasts that they have this team of people that edit things and polish things up, and they have all this amazing intro stuff, and I can sometimes drop into that comparison place. Now, I love my podcast. I'm not changing it, but it can still feel a little, good morning, joining from church. Yay, yay, good to have you here. But it can feel a little intimidating. So just the thought of going live in this podcasting group to tell them about my podcast and ask for a guest, it feels a little uncomfortable. And I'm just going to be very, very honest with you. More than a little bit uncomfortable. There's that comparison thing, right? Which is one thing that I have struggled with forever, right? And so this is the small step that I'm going to take today. I'm going to go into that group and I'm going to do a live telling about my podcast, some examples of some of the stories and what I'm looking for in a guest. And we'll just see what happens because I'm surrendering to the journey of all of it. I'm not going to have any expectations. And if anybody has anything ugly to say, well, I really don't think in a group of podcasters they would, but who knows? But I'm not going to let anything that anybody says sway me from what I do with my podcast. And so as I'm talking to you about it right now, it re-solidifies to me that this is the right step. This is the right next thing for me to do to get a little uncomfortable. And that is one of the things that I can do to amplify my authentic voice. Because the reason I started my podcast was because I had spent my whole life filtering everything I said, depending on who I was around, whether I was at work, whether I was with this friend or that friend or this person, or I had a different persona when I went out. I mean, it was like I did what I did because I wanted to fit in, right? And so at some point, I thought, I don't even know what my voice is. I don't know my own opinions. I don't know. And once I got to that revelation, it was like, well, this shit's got to change. I don't want to be that anymore. I want to be me, and I want to find out who that is. And I thought, how can I exercise my authentic voice? What do I do? What do I do? And then I realized, well, I listen to podcasts all the time. What if I created a podcast? But I didn't know how. It just seemed like too big a deal. It was like, I don't do tech. I don't do this. I don't know how to do that. And I was going through this rabbit hole of all the things I couldn't do. And then I saw this podcast, start a podcast challenge with Stacey Lauren. And I thought, what could it hurt? Right. And oh my gosh, it was amazing. I started my podcast. And then I had a coach not too long after that, a business coach, and he told me, if you want your business to grow and you want to get your get the people that want what you have, you got to let this podcast go. It's diverting your energy. And I said, oh, no, wait. I said, this is my self-care. This is what I do for me. If it never makes a solitary dime, I don't care. All I want is to be able to be me. And it started with just me talking to people. Me talking to you like this on screen. That's all it was. And then I started seeing people's stories in different groups I was in. And I thought, oh, I'd love to know what their story, the whole story. And I started inviting those people onto my podcast. And that's how it came into being this mosaic life of all the things about us, right? And so it's been this amazing journey. And when I told my coach, I'm not getting rid of it, I actually had another coach that told me the same thing. And I said, hey, this is my self-care. I'm not going to stop doing my podcast. It can be a part of my business, but it's definitely a part of me. And that's when things really started going really well, because I knew what I believed in and what was good for me. And so when you're thinking about it today, let's go back to our affirmation. So our affirmation, I embrace the journey of becoming my most courageous, confident self, knowing my unique voice matters. Because it does. So put this on your index card, your sticky notes, your screensaver on your phone. Put it somewhere that you're going to see it. Sometimes I will put it on my mirror with my chalk marker. Sometimes I've written it on a piece of paper and just stuck it with a magnet onto the refrigerator. So every time I went in there to refill my water or do anything, I would see it. So do what works for you, but make sure that you're embracing the journey of becoming your most courageous, confident self, knowing that your unique voice matters. And then, hi, Jana. Good to see you. And then our journal prompt. What's one small, brave step you can take today to amplify your authentic voice, even if it feels a little uncomfortable? And like I said, what I'm going to do today that feels a little more than uncomfortable is going into this podcast group and talking about my podcast and being open to whatever shows up, surrendering to the entire process, surrendering, meaning that I am taking no ownership of what happens afterwards. I'm not going to own anything that someone might say that's not nice. I'm not going to own what the results are going to be. I'm just going to surrender to taking this one small, brave step to amplify my authentic voice, even if it feels a little uncomfortable. So, what do you guys say? Jana, you're here on Facebook. Let me see what's going on Instagram. So are you open to taking one small brave step today? And if you are, and you're open to sharing what that brave step is, let me know. I would love to hear what that brave step is. Ah, Wendy, your game. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Yes. Jenna. Beautiful. Beautiful. So I don't know. Let me look over here. Is that Pam on Instagram? Let me know. Are you a game for taking this one small brave step today? Because remember, 1% change every day creates exponential growth. And the coolest thing to me is that you take this brave step today, or I take this brave step today, and I just release and I let go. Then tomorrow, if I chose to do it again, it wouldn't be a brave step because it would be my new normal. Ooh. And every time, yes, Wendy, your game too. Beautiful, beautiful. We got more than one Wendy on here, as usual. Just one more Wendy, and the Wendy's would be in the house, right? So, as we change and we grow today, the things that are a little bit uncomfortable, a little bit difficult tomorrow, that's our new normal. And then we do it again, and then that's our new normal. And that's how we become exactly who it is that we want to be, is by changing that new normal every single day. So as we're growing and we're sharing our voice, and we're taking that brave step, and we're being courageous, we're being confident, we're becoming these things that we want to be. And every time we exercise that muscle, every single time we exercise that muscle, we change who we are. And we become more and more of who we want to be. Grateful for the growth. Yes, yes. And it's exciting to me when you think about it. When I look back at the things that I was doing or thinking, 5 years ago, a year ago, it's like night and day. And so the things that I do just in my normal everyday interactions is so different from where I was a year ago. But if you really, really dive into it deeper, it's different than I was yesterday, because every stretch, every movement I made, every thought I had, when I share these things with you, it creates a new me, so that's my new normal. And so that's what it does for you too. Good morning, Anne Marie. Good to have you here. So just think about it. Your new normal, what is that? So today, using this journal prompt, and it's wonderful. Yes, Wendy, yes. What's one small, brave step that you can take today to amplify your authentic voice, even if it feels a little uncomfortable? Because through that discomfort, the growth that expands us is amazing. If we only do the things that we feel so comfortable doing, and that we've been doing for a while, and it's so easy. You don't even have to think. It's like, when you first started driving a car, when you first started learning, and you had to think, okay, if I'm going to go to the right, I got to make sure the wheel goes this way. If I'm going to the left, I got to make sure the wheels goes this way. How do I remember which way the blinkers go? And you had to think of all those things, right? You had to get into the car, and you had to adjust your mirrors, and you had to make sure where you were, where your seat was. But now, after you've been doing that for me, it's been a many, many years, I get in the car and I just go. I don't even have to do all that stuff. It's automatic, right? So when you get to where your life feels like you're an autopilot and you don't have to think about things, you got to grow, baby. You got to grow. You got to do something that is a little bit uncomfortable to push you into this new phase of who you are. Because remember, the only constant in life is change. So if you're not changing and growing, you're actually not staying exactly where you are. You're going backwards. So if you're not doing things to grow you, then you're actually descending the ladder, so to speak. You're moving in the wrong direction. You're not becoming, you're going back to somebody you used to be. Ouch. Yes. Yes. So you get to decide, do you want to be a person that continuously stretches, even if it's just a touch? It doesn't have to be a lot. Remember that 1% change? But growth is growth. And as long as you're going in the right direction, you're moving forward. You've got your boat in the water, and not just a sail and not just oars. You've got a motor on the back of that boat, and you are going exactly where you want to go. Otherwise, you're subject to the tide. You're subject to the wind. But I personally want to put the motor on the back of my boat, and I want to direct it where I want it to go. Now, that doesn't mean that it's a straight path, and I know I'm here now and I want to be there and I know exactly how it's going to happen. Hell no, that's not it at all. It means that I am constantly pivoting however I need to get to that destination, because I've got the motor on my boat and I'm choosing to move in that direction. Even if it feels like it's a rocky ride, it's still going there, right? And the only way we do that is by taking that brave step, that one small brave step to amplify our authentic voice, even when it feels uncomfortable. Focus. Yes, yes. And it can be so beautiful, so beautiful. And then when you have one of these moments where you feel like the wind is pushing you and you've got the engine on the back of the boat, but the wind's pushing you so hard you don't feel like you're making traction. But you are, even though you can't see it in the moment. And that's where the surrender comes from, right? So we embrace the journey. Let me get back. We embrace the journey of becoming our most courageous, confident self, knowing our unique voice matters. And doesn't that feel delicious, right? And I talk all the time about our symphony, our musical notes about our life, right? Everything we do is a little musical note. And if we can just get into the place of letting our musical notes just all come together and create this amazing person that we are, our voice becomes a musical symphony of all the things that we are. And like I said, I'm not a musician. I don't even know how to read music. I am none of that. But I still feel that my life, your life, everybody's life is this symphony of musical notes. And so as we sit here right now, there's musical notes playing all around me and all around you. And so we're just pulling them out of the air and creating the symphony of our life. And so if you weren't here when I was talking a little bit about the workshop that's coming up, there is a place to vote for the date and time in the group. So if you haven't done that, make sure you do that. I've got 2 dates now, and I'm going to wait until maybe tomorrow. And actually, that's when I'm going to decide which one of those dates works the best. And so I really want you to be there. It's a mini workshop, and it's all about how all of our musical notes and our energy, our vibration, how we bring things to us We're not going out and getting things. No, no, no. What happens if you have a dog and the dog is running and you go to chase it? You go to try to get it. It thinks it's a game and it runs and it does all the things, right? So when you're chasing something, you're chasing this thing that you want in your life, it's running for the hills. So what we're going to be talking about in this workshop is how to be the magnetic draw to what you want. And I'm super excited about it. So whatever it is that's coming up for you as I talk about all of this, journal about it. So like I tell you all the time, get your journal out, your notebook out, whatever it is that you put this stuff in, put the date, put the affirmation in the journal prompt, because I created them to be compatible, whatever you say. Awesome. Yes. Thank you, Anne Marie. So you sit and you get into this place of silence. And sometimes what helps me is I'll focus on the sounds around me to get me into this moment, this place. So maybe what I'll do is I'll sit and I'll listen, and I can hear the ceiling fan. I can hear the chimes downstairs. And there's somebody in the neighbor's house that is doing some construction, and I can hear that too. But that brings me into this within, this moment within, to where I can then look at the journal prompt and allow my subconscious mind to just brain dump, right? So you may know, like your subconscious mind may know that there's a lot of little small steps that you could take. So when you do this, go in deep and just allow whatever shows up to be down on the paper. Stillness, yes, yes. So just allow your subconscious mind to just give you feedback, give you answers, and don't judge it, because a lot of times we judge it. Well, that's stupid, or that's really not me. That's, but it obviously is something your subconscious mind is trying to tell you. And that can be, part of that can be your God voice. It could be God saying, okay, here's something. Write this down. So no matter what comes up, write it down. It's just for you. And then if you come up with a bunch of different steps, pick one. Just pick one. Get back into that stillness and decide, okay, of all of these steps that I've gotten written down today, where do I start? How do I begin? And then pick one. And you are going to be so blown away when you pick that one and you start that step. And that becomes your new normal. And it's funny because I used to, when I first became a health coach, my goal of becoming a health coach was to help me, because at that point I was 75, 85 pounds heavier than I am now. And what I wanted was to just become naturally thin. I wanted to be able to not think about food and just enjoy food and let the weight go, right? But I had to work on that, because that was definitely not my normal. And so I had to do different things as I was learning and growing to get my mind and my subconscious mind wrapped around the fact that I didn't have to constantly be on a diet, and I could actually release the weight. Am I at the perfect weight now? No, no. As a matter of fact, the doctors would probably tell me I need to lose some more, but I'm good. And I'm just letting my body naturally do its thing. So sometimes some of the weight releases again, and then sometimes some of it comes back. But I'm good, because I don't want to be depriving myself. I want to have a happy life. And so all the things that come up for you, like I said, I wanted to just be naturally thin. I wanted that to be my new normal. And so the weight I'm at now tends to be my new normal, because whatever I do, it kind of moves around and comes right back to this, right? So that's my thermostat, where it's set. And, there is a process that I take people through to change the thermostat. And so maybe I'll do that for me. But right now, not important. That's my normal. That's my new normal. And so, what can you look for to be your new normal? And the best thing you can do is go through this step. Yes, Anne Marie, go through this step to find out what are those small steps that you can take now, even if it's a little uncomfortable. And then that will become your new normal. And you just keep growing from there. All right. So I've had an amazing time this morning talking with all of you. And let me see, Wendy, where are you? You usually give me a really good closing statement. I don't know if you're still here or not. Have a beautiful, authentic day. Yes, yes, I love it. So there you go. Wendy has spoken. So you have a beautiful, authentic day, and I will see you tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern. And I'm so looking forward to it. And keep watching, because I'm going to be posting the actual date for the workshop. And I would love to have all of you here, and anyone who is watching that is not part of the Stand Up and Stand Out community. All you have to do is go to VickyPoole.com, VICKIEPOOLE.com, and then you'll be prompted to answer some questions, and make sure you answer the questions to be part of the group, because the workshop is going to be for the group members. And I would love to have you there as well. All right. So thank you, Wendy. So as Wendy so eloquently said, have a beautiful, authentic day. And Jana, thank you for being here. And Pam, for being here today. I appreciate you, and everybody here, the Wendy's, Anne Marie, all the people in this live today. And if you're watching this on the replay, make sure you put #replay and let me know that you were here as well. All right. Have a beautiful, authentic day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Mwah.